Well, hello everyone. I wanted to put together a video, a lecture video, which I do enjoy talking about in class, but in the interest of time and stuff like that, I've decided to go with the lecture video this time, talking about the material on dreams and dreaming. So let's begin. The first thing, there we go. The first thing I want to do is define this for you. And if you happen to know what this is a picture of, this is from a well-known famous movie, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland. And the whole idea of the movie, if you've never seen it, is, she's whisked away from Kansas to the land of Oz in the middle of a tornado and has to travel through Oz to get back home and meets many characters on the way. And in the end, the million-dollar question was it just a dream? Okay. I like this definition here, and I really think it says an awful lot about how to define dreams. Dreams are story-like states of mind. Okay, that's a very good way of putting it. Story-like states of mind. Dreams happen while we sleep. Okay, I think definitely important to know. Dreams are sometimes very organized and seem like you're watching a movie in your mind while you're dreaming as you go from scene to scene to scene. And sometimes they seem very chaotic. One moment you're on the beach, and the next moment you're sitting in a park bench, which is in the middle of your living room, and you're jumping from place to place to place. Sometimes they can seem very realistic, and sometimes they are very bizarre, very weird. And yet when you're having that dream, maybe it doesn't feel that way. So, this is a good definition because it covers about 4 or 5 different components in a single sentence, and it really says an awful lot. Now, with that being the case, let me turn around and pose some questions to you. This is a quick survey I like to do in class, but in the interest of time, I include it here. Just think about these as I go through these and ask yourself if these have ever happened to you, okay? Number 1, do you typically remember your dreams? And if you do remember your dreams, some people say no, they never remember their dreams. A lot of people say yes, they do, but as the day progresses, the very next day, they begin to forget it. How many times do you have a dream and first thing in the morning you wake up and realize it was just a dream and convince yourself, I'll never forget that dream. And sure enough, by lunchtime or that evening, you have no idea what that dream is. Have you ever been able to control your dream? Okay, could you make it stop? Could you make it go a certain direction? Could you turn around and have an impact upon it or wake yourself up because it was getting too frightening? That's actually called lucid dreaming, L-U-C-I-D. Have you ever died in your dream? All right. Do you have a reoccurring dream? Some people have a reoccurring dream that happens over and over, and some people say that never ever happens to them at all. Have you ever dreamed about doing something that's impossible? You're flying or you're turning around and running at an incredibly fast pace or something along those lines. It's just, you can't do that, but in the dream you seem to be able to do that. Have you ever had a dream in which one person transformed into another? That's fascinating. All right. One moment you're talking to this person, and the next moment it's sort of like they're another person. It may not be some mutation right in front of you, but one moment you're talking to your boyfriend or your girlfriend, and the next moment it's, the person standing before you in your dream is your parents or somebody else. Do your dreams involve inconsistencies? Like I said, one moment you're at one place and the next moment you're somewhere else. One moment you're chasing things and the next moment you're sitting in a diner, things like that. Okay? Do you ever incorporate outside noises into your dreams? That's one I've done before where suddenly a phone is ringing in my dream and the phone is actually outside of my dream in real life. Have you ever dreamed about a sexual experience? Being naked in public? Killing someone? Finding money? I don't have that dream very often. being pursued, running from something. That is one of the most common themes we find in dreams, according to surveys, is that people are running from something. Arriving late for something very important, showing up on the wrong day, or not showing up at all and being reminded. Being incarcerated, locked up, stuck in a room, unable to get out, things like that. Okay? Or even war. You're stuck in a fight or a battle and things of that sort. All right? Things to think about. Okay? In a survey of over 1,000 people in an old contemporary magazine called Psychology Today, it's not exactly a scientific magazine, but the sample size was so big that it's worth noting the results. 95% said that they remember at least some of their dream. 95% of the people say they can remember at least bits and pieces. 68% of the people tend to turn around and remember having a recurring dream. All right, where they're falling, they're being chased, they go to a certain home, they're flying, and so on and so forth. All right, 39% report lucid dreams in which they claim to control the course of their dream and the direction it takes. 28% report of respondents reported dying in a dream. 45% dreamed about celebrities at one time or another. All right, that they're with somebody famous and things like that. So if you turn around, maybe this is the first time anyone's ever posed such a question to you, and you realize that you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I guess I actually have had that. Or maybe the answer is no, you haven't. Know this. One of the fascinating things about dreams is this, trying to figure out if your dreams are trying to tell you something. Are your dreams trying to tell you something? Okay, dream interpretation. There's really two broad spectrums to this. We haven't talked much about Sigmund Freud, okay? But Freud, who believed in the concept of the unconscious, actually felt that dreams were a window to the unconscious, and that dreams are often trying to tell you something. So at one end of the spectrum is this belief that dreams are trying to tell you something. Freud even had a booklet of sorts called his Interpretation of Dreams, Dream Interpretation, and what they meant, all right? So on one perspective, all dreams have meaning. And a couple of things to keep in mind here, according to Freud, a lot of dreams are all about a concept known as wish fulfillment. Wish fulfillment. Wish fulfillment is sort of the way that, maybe you cannot do something in real life, but you can dream about it, all right? And so the dream is a way of addressing those things that life does not allow you to do or you're unable to do and stuff like that. So he really did believe a lot of dreams were all about what he called wish fulfillment. Now, two important concepts here to understanding Freud is this. One is what is called latent content, and one is called manifest content. Manifest content, if I were to ask you what your dream was about, if I posed the question to you, do you remember having a dream last night? You say, yes, I do. And I said, tell me your dream, okay? And you start to share with me the details of your dream. That is an example of what is called manifest content. That is the actual things that occurred in your dream, okay? You're reading me the manifest of what took place in your dream. Latent content is the symbolic message that goes on, that is behind that, okay? The hidden message inside, what it's really trying to tell you, and things like that. For example, many years ago, I had a collie that passed away, a border collie, and it was a very good dog for many, many years. And she died right around the holidays, and we had to put her down. It was sort of hard. And I noted in myself that for probably a week or two, almost every night, I had a dream that I was looking for that dog. In the dream, I'm looking for my dog, and I'm calling for my dog, and so on. That would be the manifest content. The latent content here, what the dream is probably trying to tell you, is that I missed my dog. All right, I think it's safe to say that I missed my dog, and that's why I kept dreaming that. So the symbolic imagery behind it was the fact that I missed that dog, and I actually, a couple of times a year still seem to dream about that pooch. So she meant a lot to my wife and I at the time. Manifest content and latent content. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, while Freud believes that almost all dreams have meaning, biological activation theory simply says that dreams have no meaning at all. That they are nothing but random images fired by the brain that really have no meaning whatsoever. Okay, as I said before, one moment you're walking on the beach, and the very next instant you're at a carnival. Okay, and the very next moment after that you're lying in your bed at home, and you're just jumping from place to place to place. It's very fragmented and bizarre. People who believe that the brain is just firing random images, biological activation theory would say that there's really no meaning there, and there's not one worth searching for. So you have on one end of the spectrum the Freudian theory, and at the other end of the spectrum the biological activation theory. Right in the middle of all this is what is called the cognitive theory. And the cognitive theory basically says this, that a lot of dreams have no meaning whatsoever. Okay, a lot of dreams have no meaning, but some do. I mean, that's sort of what they say there. They fit right in between these two realms. A lot of dreams have no meaning, but some do. And that's the idea behind cognitive theory, all right? And that's pretty much as far as they take that. Now, I want to turn around and talk to you a little bit about, of all things, nightmares. This is a painting by a gentleman from, I believe, the 1800s. And I think his name was Henry Cervelli. Don't quote me on that. And the name of the painting is The Nightmare. And you look at this painting and you see a couple of different things in it. You see a woman laying in a position. She almost looks like she's dying, okay, or has died. Believe it or not, she's sleeping. That's the premise and the idea, is that she's sleeping. And on top of her is this gnome or gargoyle or something like that. And you see off to the side is the head of a horse. And one of the many names you can have for a horse is a colt or a gelding or equine, the scientific name, or a bronco or a mustang or a mare. If you've ever wondered where they came up with the term the nightmare. Now, there are different takes on this concept of nightmares, from the Gaelic to other cultures, and that one culture basically believes that if you have frightening images in your mind in the middle of the night, you had had a visit from the devil or one of the devil's minions who rode in on sort of a black horse and deposited frightening images in your mind while you slept. You had had a visit from the nightmare. Well, today we don't tend to turn around and get so grandiose in our belief. We have just shortened it to say that people have nightmares and things like that. We don't get into all the details, okay? What do we really know about nightmares? What do we really know about dreams? Know this before I go any farther, that a lot of times when it comes to a lot of dreams and nightmares, we have to rely on surveys from people. We question them and we ask them, what was your dream? We have no way in today's science to turn around and connect electrodes to a person's brain and watch their dream with them. It doesn't happen like that. That's science fiction. That's not how things really occur in life, unfortunately. So when it comes to something such as nightmares, we've had to rely a lot on surveys. And what we have found out about nightmares, and we're pretty confident about this, is that the vast majority of nightmares occur in the R stage. In the old system, they called it stage 5. We call it the R stage, which is REM. Nightmares are something that are REM related, rapid eye movement. That's the stage that they are in, okay? Nightmares also are more frequent during times of stress and anxiety. That is a big one. Okay, stress and anxiety when stuff like that is going on. All right, and they do seem to be a little bit more prevalent during the ages of 7 to 10. That's what our research has found. We're not quite sure why those ages, but we do seem to see a higher frequency of that at that time than we do other times. All right, but why people have nightmares while other people rarely do, why some people's nightmares are reoccurring while other people's are not, um, we don't know. We just don't know. And we rely on surveys, but even in today's science and technology, we don't know why some people have them frequently, others have them infrequently, and so on and so forth. Do know this, there is one other type that I do want to mention, and this is what is called a night terror. A night terror is a little bit different because a night terror we see a lot of times happening in children. Sometimes in adults, much more rare, but in children. A lot of times in preschool age kids. If you have brothers or sisters who are preschool age, say 2 to 5, 2 to 7, by then they're getting into school. You have children of your own that fall into that age. Sometimes parents go through a situation where a child wakes up in the middle of the night and they wake up just screaming or panicked. And you assume that they're having a nightmare. You might actually go into their room and maybe they're sitting up in their bed or their crib or wherever they sleep and their eyes are wide open. And you can't wake them up. You know, you call their name, you hold them close. They may go on crying for possibly several minutes. Um, my son, my oldest son, I remember going through this, and my wife was trying to calm him down and couldn't understand why she couldn't. And I said, let me try something. And I kept calling his name right in front of his face, and he wouldn't respond. And I said, I'm going to try something, and I prepped her for it. And I yelled his name at him. She jumped. She was sort of startled I did that. Like, now you're going to scare him. And after a moment, I said, honey, he's still sleeping. He's not aware of what I just did. And her realization sort of scared her. He was having a night terror. Night terrors are something that tends to occur in the N3 stage. In the old system, we called it stage 4. But what you're having is a dream in a non-dream state. You're having a dream in the deepest level of non-REM. It's called a night terror. And let me tell you an interesting fact. People do not wake up easily from these. These happen much more in childhood than they do adulthood, though they can happen in adulthood. And a lot of times the next day, maybe a child finally falls back to sleep, and then poor old mom and dad, they're frazzled and trying to fall back to sleep themselves. But the next day, you know, you ask your son or daughter or your younger brother and sister, what were you dreaming about last night? Boy, you were yelling and screaming. And they just look at you like, what are you talking about? They have no recollection. They often have no recollection of a night terror, you know. And there have been instances, or I've been told anyways, where, you know, your voice is hoarse the next day and the child doesn't realize why their voice is so hoarse. It's because they were yelling and screaming for such a long time and they don't realize what had happened. So night terrors are more of an N3 non-REM reaction, and most kids grow out of them. The vast majority of kids grow out of them. It's not something you have to go rushing off to the doctor for and things like that. They do tend to occur, and you just need to be aware of that. Okay, so that's about it for now. That's all I've got for this one. Hopefully, if you have any questions, please contact me, and do take care.